Sweet. So this is going to be all about how to get back to 2021 deal sizes, those nice and juicy, that frothy market that we had, which in some markets is still really strong, and most of the western half of the United States is not. So how do we make up the delta? A lot of you have already seen this slide. You don't need we don't need to spend any time on this, but except our primary market is Boise, Idaho. We do everything from fix and flip to wholesale, coaching, Airbnbs, build apartments. My background's in mechanical engineering. My give to you guys today, we got a really small audience. We did this last time, which was a lot of fun. At the end of this, we're going to spin a wheel, and whoever's name it lands on, we're going to do it live. This is going to get a free hour session with my dispo manager to help them with whatever they need help with. So also, guys, I'm going to put this, I'll put these comments in the chat here. We've got a sweet calculator to give out that I use for a lot of my underwriting with wrap deals and stuff online. It's a lot of those basic bank right calculators when you're underwriting notes and creative finance deals will only let you go to like 30 years or 10 years or whatever. This one's a little bit more robust than that. So make sure you get that. I am going to talk a little bit about Investor Lift today, not because I want to plug them, just because it's helped our business in the last year, especially significantly. And I'll tell you a little bit about my mixed feelings with them at first and why I didn't really like it at first. But that's one of our sources for how we dispo. And there is a promo code there for you guys if you do end up finding value in it that you can get 10% off. My ask is just the same as always. If you get value today, please just like and share on Instagram. I want to keep doing these free presentations to give people value and help people because I had others that helped me along the way. So, all right, let's get down to business here. Our exit strategies on creative deals. So again, what do we mean by a creative deal? Okay, we mean a seller finance. We mean a hybrid, which is a sub 2 plus a seller finance on the seller's equity. Okay, and a straight sub 2. There's also some seller subordinations. You've heard Pace coin the phrase Morby method. That's all. It's just a seller subordination that he's coined his phrase. So those are all creative deals. What we do with them, and I'll talk about my thought process about how we decide what to do with them, but you can keep it. In my opinion, this is the best wealth creator on earth. You know, we get these at low interest rates with low down. You keep it as a personal residence or a rental property, but it's got a cash flow if you keep it as a rental. And so that's really our first criteria is if we get this property under contract on creative finance. And one step back, guys, everything we're going to talk about today is post-contract or most of it, okay? So it's going to be on the disposition side. We can go heavy into another presentation on acquisition specifically, but this is all going to be about dispo post-contract. All right, so does it cash flow? It's got a cash flow as a rental for it to make sense. The only exception to that is if it's a 0% deal, because you're knocking off so much interest every single month in that monthly payment. It could make sense to keep that property as a rental, okay? Because those 0% deals, they don't come around that often. So they are sexy, but they don't come around that often. So you might want to keep it. You can wrap it to an owner occupant. This is one of my favorite strategies lately, because market rates now of what people expect to pay in interest are like 6.5%, 7.5%, 8.5% or higher. Yet if we're getting a property under contract sub 2 at someone else's 3% mortgage or 0% mortgage, we got a big spread there if we can make on interest alone. Okay, so also you're going to have this is going to allow you to make a spread from owner occupants who are going to pay the highest amount for your properties. Why? Because they get emotionally invested in the home. they're not an investor. They're not looking to make a buck. They don't need to make a profit from the deal. They're just living there to live there. And most people, about a third of Americans can't even qualify for a traditional mortgage, and it's only getting harder with interest rates right now. These people have very limited opportunities to buy properties. So when they do get them, they overpay for the opportunity. So if you're not utilizing wraps, I have an example later that we'll touch on. But the owner has to be financially qualified. That's the next criteria for us. Okay, we can't make it a rental. Can we wrap it? All of our owner occupant buyers, we have to qualify, and we also have to be Dodd-Frank compliant. So I'll talk about more what that means later. But just briefly in a nutshell, they have to have some amount of savings or some amount of like a checking account or something that actually shows a proof of funds, right? Okay, they can't afford a down payment. And then they have to have proof of income that they're employed. To what amount? We usually like to see people making around 3 times as much as whatever monthly payment is, as a general rule of thumb, okay? Some markets, it's going to be different, higher or lower, depending on your price points. And lastly, wholesaling it to an investor, right? And this is going to come down to, okay, don't want to keep it as a rental. It can't cash flow. And I don't think that this is going to be a good wrap. But can I wholesale it to an investor? Maybe they have a different strategy. Maybe they own multiple properties in the neighborhood. You guys would be surprised what people will pay, investors will pay for creative deals just to have something on a lower interest rate. A lot of times it doesn't make tons of financial sense, but there's very limited opportunities right now in a lot of markets, okay? There's low inventory everywhere. And this depends on the entry fee. So the lower that we can get the entry fee on acquisition, the higher our spread is going to be on the back end, right? Makes sense. Down payment is the most important variable to us when we're getting creative finance deals under contract. Why? The lower the entry fee, the more buyers come into play. Lots of people can afford a 15K or 20K down payment. Not as many can afford a 100K down payment, okay? All right, so I mentioned getting back to 2021 deal sizes. This is why Idaho and a lot of the western half of the US got hit really hard in the last year or so. Prices have come down. I touched on this before, but depending on who you ask, like 26 to 28% off peak, okay? So nobody was buying cash deals for like 8 to 10 straight months. And similar in a lot of markets of the US. So in Q3 and Q4, 75% of our deal flow was creative finance. And even Q1 of this year, over half of our deal flow that comes in, right? Because we're doing cash deals, we're doing novations, we're doing all these other strategies, but over half of our deals were creative finance, okay? And we're averaging so far this year a 33K assignment fee on wholesales, okay? Not on wraps or not on keeping the property, obviously, but just on wholesales. So there are frothy deal sizes to be had. And of course, if you're getting into multifamily or bigger plays, these go up exponentially. Just to highlight one example of wholesaling a creative deal, and I'll show you guys later on a little bit deeper about how we advertise it. But this is an example of a deal I think we sold in Q3 or Q4 when nobody was buying. Our price that we had it under contract and advertised it at, total price was $435. Zillow was $375. This property was $60,000 over market value. Why in the heck would an investor want this property? Well, because the first position mortgage is at 2.875%. The monthly payment is super low. And then the seller financed their equity. This was a hybrid deal at 0% interest, $800 a month. Their total payment is about $1,600 a month, with over $1,000 of that going towards principal every month. And they can rent this thing for about $2,000 to $2,200, give or take, because it's got a mother-in-law suite in the back. So I think we made like a 30 to 35K. No, sorry. We made a 40K assignment fee on this one, which the guy's getting a great cash on cash return. And then when the market starts going back up again, all of a sudden he's got these terms for 29 years. Okay. This was a brand new loan. So just refinanced before things change. So he's got a grand slam of a deal, all because of the terms. So you can make massive spreads like these for properties that are over market value a lot of times. All right, so here's a case study of a rental, and I'm going to go through this example line by line. Again, this is if you're looking to keep a property, but I do want to go slowly so people understand this, and I'll pause if you guys want to ask questions. So this is a property, maybe needed a little bit of work, but only cosmetic. All right, total purchase price $365. We purchased it sub to the existing mortgage. The guy owed $112. So we're taking over those payments of $112,000, right around $1,000 a month at 3.5% interest. Okay, so we set up the payments through the title company. We pay the title company through a direct draw, and then they pay the seller's note through a direct payment. You can also pay their bank account directly if you have access to that information and get a power of attorney beforehand. If you don't, you can also set it up through some title companies. I talked about that a couple presentations ago about how prickly title companies can be with creative deals, but nonetheless, $1,000 a month at 3.5%, we took over his payments. So that leaves the remaining seller's equity of $365,000 minus $112. So the seller had, if he was selling this cash, his cash proceeds would be $253,000. Okay. We financed that in second position and are paying him $100 a month at 0% interest, that note. I think if you look at the amortization of that, it's like over 100 years note until that gets paid off. Does anyone have questions about any of that? I know I'm going kind of fast about that structure. Okay, sweet. I'll take that as a no. So down payment to seller, $10,000. Again, lower the down payment for us, the better. We have so many more exit strategies, the lower the down payment. Closing costs, roughly $1,200. Light cosmetic rehab, I think we've swapped most of the flooring or maybe one floor of the flooring, and then we did interior paint and like some yard cleanup. That rents for $2,100 a month. So my all-in payment is the $1,000 a month at 3.5%, and then the $100 a month at 0% interest. All-in payment $1,100 a month. Rents for $2,100 a month. So I get $550 a month in cash flow. This is an example of a deal that, yeah, given how low the monthly payment was and how high I could get versus how high I could get in rent, this one made sense to keep as a rental. These deals are out there, guys. I'm not going to say that they're 100%, like they're not as common as regular deals, but it's all a lead funnel, right? And if you are coming, this is a seller that was stuck on a number, and this is going to be a majority of sure, you're going to have your foreclosures, you're going to have your motivated sellers that want to do something creative or avoid taxes, or tired landlord that just want mailbox money. But a lot of your sellers that do these second positions at 0% are going to be people that are just stuck at a number. And they're like, I don't care how long it takes to get my money. I want this number, because they want to go tell their friends at the bar or tell their at a family reunion that they got this number for their property and they're proud of it. So if you're asking yourself, why would someone want to do a deal like this? It's because people have ego involved. People have emotion involved in their properties, and they want a certain number and they don't care about anything else. Also, this guy, like on a cash offer, what would we have to pay? We'd probably have to pay like 220, 230 to be able to wholesale it for 260-ish. Okay. So if he's getting $100,000 more, it's a sizable amount. He doesn't care how long he has to wait. Okay. All right. I'm going to talk about a wrap next quick, and then we're going to jump back into wholesaling. But the reason I wanted to talk about this one is because a lot of people sleep on these. So in previous presentations, I've talked about the mobile home for land list, or sorry, the mobile homes with land list. You can get it from PropStream. You can get it from your MLS, other data sources. Nobody hits this list because nobody likes mobile homes. But if they got land, they have value. You can make some creative deals out of these. Okay. So this particular property, this isn't even in our core market. It's out east a little bit. It had a tear down. This little like barn looking house thing in front is a tear down. It's gutted. It's not even livable. Okay. There's a dinky mobile home behind that you can't see. It's in 1967. It's in terrible condition and it's not on a foundation. So we got a lot with a tear down house in front and a dinky mobile home in the back that's barely even livable. Nobody wants that, right? Wrong. Okay. Everyone passes up these. Everyone passes up these. I'm laughing because it's been my experience over the years that people just like, they don't think that it's desirable, and so they just don't think anything can work, and they don't think their buyers will want it. Okay. $42,000 purchase price, 10K down, $450 a month to the seller at 0% interest. This was a motivated seller. This guy was like, I need money down. I need to get the heck out of Idaho. I got to get to Florida to be with a girlfriend or something. And this place is falling apart and I just got to get rid of this thing. And what do you guys think we could even offer on a property like this for cash? It's going to cost you 15 to 20K to tear down the front house and the mobile home, scrape the lot, and then you got a parcel. And we all know how fast or slow land moves depending on the location, right? It's a lot for someone to take on. You'd have to get it for pennies on the dollar, okay? We took over, we bought it, okay? As a wrap, you got to buy it, right? So we started making payments at $450 a month, again, through the title company. They handle all our payments. You can use a third-party servicing company if you want to. And then we listed this on the market as a seller finance. So I'll show you guys a little bit about how we advertise these to buyers. But this one we actually listed on the market, and we said, seller will finance. So send us your what down payment and monthly payment you could reasonably afford, and we'll fill in the rest of the blanks. It ended up selling for $99,000 for 15K down. So I had an $84,000 note at 6% interest, where the buyer was now paying me $650 a month. Okay, so I'm still making this $450 a month payment. And now the seller has purchased the property from me and making me a payment of $650. Okay, my note is now secured against the property in second position. So I made $5,000 up front. I get $200 a month, which is the difference between $650 and $450, the difference between the payment I'm getting and the payment that I'm making to the seller. The total amount that comes to with my 6% interest over time is $144,432. You can make $102,000 over time by wrapping a dinky mobile home deal with a tear down that everyone else passes. And these kind of deals happen all the time, and they're out there. Nobody looks at them. Okay, so why are buyers going crazy for creative deals right now? The environment we're in, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? Interest rates are increasing, recession. There's a lot of fear right now. The only certainty in the market right now is cash flow and a fixed interest rate. So people are seeking safety and security in things that are fixed, that they can measure. Okay. I mentioned before, about a third of Americans cannot qualify for a conventional mortgage. So how are they going to buy properties if they ever want to have a rental or live in one? They're not, unless we provide them the opportunity. There's still a lot of 1031 money out there, and they're salivating for these deals. They will overpay a lot for these deals. And I say overpay because the market's all relative, right? What people pay is what the true value is of the property. But if I'm doing a 1031 and I can secure a 2.25, 2.275 net interest rate for 30 years,